Welcome.
Hello and welcome to OzLoL Podcast, episode 60. My name's Caracolossus. I am host of the show, and we have got a lot of discussion today. We're going to be talking about Armageddon in Auckland and the Oceanic Regional Final, round of 8. We're going to be talking about some of the upcoming games for PAX this weekend. We're going to be talking a bit more about the preseason changes on the PBE. And we might have some other stuff in there too. We'll be answering some of your questions as well. So to help me do that, I'm joined by Stephen Garstone and Scott Ranconius.
Hello.
Actually, Steve, how about you do the little show news thing while I adjust the visuals because of Scott having to drop his webcam out. The things are a bit messed up. So you talk while I do stuff.
Man, this is the time I usually get to tune out and catch up on all the other information.
Yeah.
So we are sponsored by the Trinity Force podcast. You can go to the website, which is ozlol.trinityforcepodcast.com. You can also, just on trinityforcepodcast.com, you can see our sister shows, Trinity Force Podcast and the Trinity Force, or the T-Force LCS Rundown. Those two shows are awesome if you're looking to get better at the game. Trinity Force Podcast is definitely the one to help improve your solo queue. Send questions through and all that. They answer them all the time. And the T-Force LCS Rundown is covering essentially everything pro gaming with strong emphasis on the European and North American LCS. We would really appreciate some further iTunes reviews, as they really do help out the show, get more search results, and we always like to hear your feedback anyway. We'd appreciate you using the donation button if you feel so inclined. That would be greatly appreciated because it helps make the show better, if that is at all possible. You can log into the chat room in client, which I just realized I have not done, which I'll be doing right now, and into Razorcoms. There's a whole bunch of us community members out there having a good time, playing games and such. We're on there all the time during the week, so if we're on, say hi.
Excellent.
And you're back.
I'm back. Yep, that's good. I finished sorting it all out. I sorted it all out. So that's the thing about live internet, TV, radio, whatever you want to call it, is that if something goes wrong when the streamer's already running, you can't fix it up because the streamer's already running. So
that's right.
Yes, anyway,
and he asked us if we were ready 3 times.
So yes. Did you mention Battle Arena?
I was about to.
Oh, why don't you mention Battle Arena then?
No, you can do the
Okay. So Battle Arena is back again this Thursday from around 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So adjust that to your whatever it is that you live in.
Which is harder than you think.
So if you're in Queensland, that's 6 p.m. Queensland time. If you're in New Zealand, that's 5 p.m. New Zealand time. And if you're in Western Australia, I believe it's 4 p.m. Western Australia
It'll be
time.
4 p.m. Western Standard Time. So,
and if you're in Northern Territory, it's about 3 a.m.
Come and join us. It's for bronze to gold players. We try to talk about how to get better at the game and give some tips and have a bit of fun. And we've been having some good games. So come and join us. Join the OzLoL chat room. That's where we post all the details. So you can just find us there, or you can hit us up on social media. So Facebook.com/OzLoL Podcast or Twitter.com/OzLoL Podcast, because I put up all the links for all the streams there. And with that, and now that the phone has stopped ringing in the background, let's talk about news. So last weekend, we had the second half of the round of 8 for the Oceanic Finals, which was held at Auckland Armageddon. It was the teams playing were Unlimited, Legacy, Avant-Garde, and Your Soul Shall Tougher. And of course, spoiler alert, as per always, the teams that went through in the winners bracket was Avant-Garde, in the lower bracket, what do I say, losers bracket, because it sounds a bit bad. So in the top bracket, it was Avant-Garde, and in the bottom bracket, it's Legacy. Let's talk about the game. So I guess we can probably say pretty briefly that AV and Legacy dispatched their initial team, so Unlimited and YSSC, relatively easily. I don't think there was a particularly strong contest.
2-0 stomps.
Yep. So probably the big match, which was probably the most fun to watch, was the AV versus Legacy game. So let's talk about that one. It was actually surprisingly, I thought 2-0 going to AV. What were your thoughts? And now we should mention, for the sake of transparency, that Scott is involved in Vanguard, so technically he's a little bit biased, but I'm sure he can talk about it.
I am a little bit biased, but I do like to definitely be open and honest about these things.
Yeah.
Coming into it after last weekend, coming out of Cyber Gamer Premier League, which AV finished in second place and did not play convincingly for me. Did not play convincingly at all last weekend. Look how they did this weekend. I'm very, very impressed by the guys. I was really nervous. I was biting my nails, I have to say. I was very nervous that they might even lose potentially to Soul Shell Chuffer. So when they come out and they played so solidly against YSSE, that definitely eased my nerves, because at that point I was sitting there going, oh, they just had a big, big, bad land session in Sydney. So it was definitely put me at ease. And I didn't expect them to do so well against Legacy. So that was all credit to them. Having said that, against Legacy, all credit to Tallywhacker. Tallywhacker is rotated into Legacy's lineup and just looks at home, seems to be playing like a man possessed. And I am really keen for the Swiper versus Tallywhacker matchup that we're going to get at PAX.
It's worth mentioning that Tallywhacker brought Nara into the competitive scene in Oceania for the first time. So
he did.
And he replaced Minky Whale, so which I didn't realize until I actually watched the VOD again today to watch the game again, that he'd replaced Minky. So
yeah, that's been in the works for a while. Like we've seen Minky making esports kind of appearances on the Riot streams and interviews and all that sort of stuff. But then we've seen games that have been played, and you wouldn't have seen this character, but you can see in scrims that he's not there, and so as often. So no, it's Tallywhacker's been practicing with them for a while.
Yeah, and he brought Na, and I thought he did pretty well. I mean, the first game, Legacy pretty much held it even. I mean, it was actually quite a close game the whole way through. So there was AV had the lead early, then Legacy got the lead back, then AV got the lead again. It was actually just one or two decisive fights that turned the game. So I think it was actually, even though it was kind of really, I mean, it was 2-0. I think both Legacy and obviously AV played actually quite well, to quite a good standard. And I don't think you can necessarily read too much into Legacy's results against AV, because it was just and really all credit is due to, I think, Nada, the support player for AV, because I think his Janna play was just excellent. Like, it was, some of his monsoons were just breathtakingly good, and particularly in the first game there was a fight near Baron, and it wasn't probably the best engaged by Legacy, but they were probably okay. And then this monsoon came in and just scattered the team and totally separated Cardred from the marksman for Legacy from the rest of the team, which allowed Veritas, who the marksman for AV, who was on Vayne, to go in there, take him out, and just scattered the team, and they were just able to clean them up individually, and just stuff like that was, I thought Nada really brought really. And Veritas played quite well as well. Like, I think Nada was the decisive factor in a number of fights.
I definitely think AV played their champion selects very, very well, which I don't think that Legacy did extremely well. The Vayne pick, I think, was shelved and was brought out for a very specific reason. I don't think that Cardred was expecting to be playing against a Vayne, and very early on in the lane, they fell behind, and then it just allowed Veritas to just farm his way into that mid-game power spike at the Blade of the Ruin. He had a Blade of the Ruin King before, Cardred had actually finished his Infinity Edge, which was a big spike. He was controlling that lane, doing exactly everything he needed to win that lane. And it all credit to the bottom lane. I mean, but then again, you've got to look at, on the flip side, some of the picks. I mean, Kensty was playing a lot of TF on the weekend, and it definitely helped around their map. Something I'd like to see from AV, though, is that I'm a little bit worried about, is all of the picks seem to be going towards the late game. They don't seem to want to play mid-game or early game-oriented champions.
Well, I think Elise, Twisted Fate, and Rumble that they played in their final game, they're very strong mid game champions. Like they're very, very good at the early pressure in lanes and then transitioning into the team fights. So they did have some mid game that they did take on. I want to say that Kensty's Twisted Fate and Kensty's Zed play over the entire time that they were playing was just continued to impress me. It wasn't always like plays all the time, but when he did show up, he looked flawless. Like I saw on Zed, he hit like double shurikens like 3 times in a row in one team fight, while maintaining positioning, and it was just doing some really, 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 like the reason we watch pro games is for this high level stuff, and he really did showcase some of that. It was quite good to see.
No, I mean, I thought Choo Choo's played in the mid lane. I mean, I think he's, in terms of probably straight out skill, like, I mean, I think he's by far, he's probably the best on Legacy, and I thought he really, in that first game against AV, his Xerath play was excellent, and just the snipes that he got, and I think it really allowed Legacy to stay in the game for so long.
Yeah, it wasn't just like the snipes that he was getting onto players as well. He was actually using his ultimate so effectively for objective control. Like, I saw so many, like, they had to back off Dragon, or they had to back off Baron, because Xerath was laying down ults in the general direction, and just scattered people to the winds. It was really strategically used Xerath play, rather than picked exclusively for laning, which is really, really good to see.
Yep, absolutely. Going to have to agree with you there. Choo Choo's was just a monster all tournament.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Swiffer's got a man to come up against in the mid lane. That game is definitely, I think, going to be, regardless of what happens across the rest of the tournament, unless of course AV does take the Chiefs to 5 games in the final, because I do think it's going to be an AV Chiefs final against Direwolves. AV have always sort of played strong against Direwolves when they've played with a full comp. So I do think that they will be progressing there, and it won't be much of a competition. And that's no disrespect to Direwolves, obviously. That's just straight and honest opinion. So, yeah, I definitely think that Legacy, whilst they did have some issues, and they certainly showcased them over in the wildcards, they've come back fighting. And it's definitely good. The scene has improved with them away, and they've stepped up their game, and I definitely feel that the move to shift Minky out of that top lane role was the right one. You've got to remember that when he stepped into that role, that he actually was a mid lane main. Or it wasn't sort of his primary role. It was something he was doing secondary, just to try and fill in that role and keep the team obviously moving forwards. He didn't learn a bunch of champions. He had so much trouble playing Renekton. He was going to Trundle a lot, and I still didn't even like his Trundle play. And then he just had this random Heimerdinger that he was trying to bring out all the time. That was just hilarious.
Which is great. It's great for the fans. Yeah, it was fun to watch, but it's not. It's not going to be good in that top lane role.
I remember one game where he pulled it out, where it was actually a really clever pick against the team composition they were going against, and we're like, "Oh, that's brilliant!" And then he pulled it out, like he picked it early the second game and just got counterpicked really easily. And I'm like, and this is why you don't main Heimerdinger.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I'll go on record saying that he's definitely the best Trundle player in the Oceanic region. However, he still suffers from the problem that it's Trundle and he can only be picked into certain matchups. Like if the opponent's not going to build tank, like if they're not forced to build tank stats, then you're missing a large part of what makes Trundle Trundle. So, and that quite limited their comps. So no, I agree with you. That it was the right way to go.
Now, Scott, do you just want to quickly go in? Because, I mean, the bot lane, so Veritas and Nada, they're relatively... I mean, how long have they been in the team for? Because I've never seen them before. I understand they're Korean. Did you want to sort of just quickly give us a bit of an overview of where they're from? And because, I mean, I think that like their performance on the weekend was outstanding. And I suspect that if I went back and looked at previous games with AV, they've been a really huge part of that as well. So, you want to tell us about them?
And can you do it in Korean?
Yeah,
no, I can't do it in Korean. No, I can't. So yes, I can confirm that the bot lane from AV is from Korea. Veritas has come from Korea. He was a top 50 challenger player on the Korean server. Was looking to come over for schooling, university, I believe is the situation there. And through contacts, we managed to pick him up. Nada is an impressive solo queue player and has been for an extremely long time, going under the tag AKG Nada for Australian Korean gaming. So, when
Is
it
that
was
what
looked at,
AKG stood for?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Did you know that?
No, I never bothered to find out. I'm just like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
AKG.
Yeah. So, Nada's been an absolutely impressive solo queue player for Yonks, and he's also been an incredibly well-liked, as far as I could tell, speaking to a few people about him. Solo queue player, and which actually goes fairly against the AKG clan. They're not incredibly well-liked in the upper tiers of Australian, or rather Oceanic solo queue. So that was a nice pickup, and we stuck them together. And obviously, they're able to speak a more native language themselves if they need to. Nada does type incredibly good English. Not Nada, sorry, Veritas. Veritas's written English is fantastic. Spoken English is a little bit broken, so they just work on whatever they need to. But absolutely impressed with how they're playing. They are playing out of their minds, and when those expect Veritas does. Feel like he still has more mechanical plays in his back pocket. Because if you just look at some of his Vayne play, especially the laning phase coming out in I think it was the first game against Legacy. Because I've been moving all weekend, so I've had very broken internet. I was only able to catch a couple of games. And that was one of the ones I saw. It was only the lane phase I was able to catch of that game. And you could just see him on Vayne was constantly finding windows of opportunity to make sure that Cardred was pressured, Cardred was auto-attacked, and he was punished coming forwards for that CS on Lucian, who's a lane bully. How does Vayne bully the lane bully?
Yeah.
And that's what he's been able to pull out.
That was something I was actually very impressed with over the entire weekend. Whenever I saw a Vayne laning evenly against someone who's always considered stronger, because I think I said it a while ago that Vayne's laning is so poor that you can expect to come out 20 CS behind after a prolonged laning phase, and that's deemed acceptable. So to come out even and to actually come out ahead in trades and all that sort of stuff it really does speak to positioning and initiative in their lane dominance. It's really, I was very impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, can I just say a few things about that? For that lane matchup to work, AV had to lane swap and get the 2v2 into the top lane. If they 2v2'd in towards the bottom lane, I can't remember. I feel like Aegium was on Thresh that game, but I can't quite remember. So if he was given brush control, because you've got to remember in the top lane you've got those 3 brushes as opposed to the 2 in the bottom lane, you can't as easily get brush control. You can't get a Thresh up into that lane and playing as aggressive as easily. So I definitely feel like lane swapping into that matchup gave them the advantage. The fact that they were the ones initiating it and it was Legacy responding to their lane swap brought them to the lane slightly delayed, which led to that snowball. And as soon as they had that grip on the lane, what you've got to remember about Vayne is she does not have any AoE wave clear at all. So if you push her and you poke her underneath the turret, which is why Caitlyn is strong against Vayne, for anyone who's obviously looking to play into a Vayne matchup in solo queue, if you get Vayne underneath that turret, she can't clear. She was pushed up to Cardred's turret and Aegium's turret the entire time. In that early lane swap, when they finally swapped back, was the first time when the 2v2 initiated on each other down in the bottom lane, that the turret was under pressure from Legacy. Prior to that, Lucian was stuck eating harassed trying to creep score, and it just wasn't working for Legacy. That's how well thought out that early lane phase was from AV.
You have no idea how happy I am to hear you say that, because I almost said those exact words verbatim when I was describing what was happening to a friend I had over while we were watching the game. I'm like, see, now the reason they've done this is they've gone here for that. Like I pretty much said exactly that. And just to hear you say those words back to me without us having communicated it all beforehand, that's just, I like being right. Thank you.
I think this rivalry between AV and IM is just hitting the floor really quickly. This is disappearing.
Well, that's like we'll be throwing punches at each other in a week anyway.
Can that be the like, Carrot? Are you still coming across for PAX?
No, I'm not. Even though Steve keeps
No!
badgering me to get a credit card so I can fly
I
over.
sent you a link, man. The application.
Oh,
Second.
oh.
I do want to come over, but it's one of those things that it's quite.
No. Carrot, you be quiet. Listeners, go and hit the donate button right now and put Carrot to PAX.
Yes, that would be nice.
That's what we need. This needs to happen.
At this stage, it's not happening. I can't imagine that situation changing before Friday. But we never know. You never know. Maybe
Believe.
Second question. Are you
Yep.
still here on Monday?
Am I still here? Say again, sorry.
No, not you. I'm talking to my
Steve.
Steven rival man over there.
No, I'll still be in Melbourne until
Yes. All right.
Monday.
So, guys, look forward to it. Opening of the show next week will be a punch up between AV and IM.
It'll be
Just
Steve.
a live stream.
It'll be Steve and Scott sharing the same shite internet connection while trying to podcast. Yes.
I'll at least get us into an internet cafe. I wouldn't do that to you. Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about PAX this weekend, or as in the chat has called it, Underworlds, which I thought was quite clever. So, Underworlds this weekend, PAX, and we've got the starting games are AV versus Direwolves, and Legacy versus I say Immunity, but it's actually Chiefs. Let's talk about AV versus Direwolves. I think we'd probably all be in agreement that AV is probably going to win that matchup. It's probably... I mean, Direwolves are good. They beat Immunity to get in, which is no mean feat.
No,
but-
that's... Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, at AB Expo. But you got to remember as well, to qualify to that round, they actually had to beat the AV team. But remember that that's the game that Shelby decided that he was napping, and his nap was important. And it was that day. He enjoyed his nap.
Okay.
Di-
That's true. Yeah, I did
will
forget
solve
about
the
that.
Technicality of a nap. What? No.
It was- at the end of the
Direwolves
day-
have the ability to show up and play. When they show up and play, they can do quite well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
After this weekend, and I think Avant's just general good performances that we've seen over the last month, that we really are expecting AV to 2-0 that. And again, don't get me wrong, the Direwolves are very good players, but AV just look really amazing.
Yep. No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I mean,
100%. I think the point to make here is that all of Direwolf's playmaking is going to come from Sharp and Rippy. Sharp and Rippy are fantastic playmakers, and if you give them champions Oriana, you give Rippy Jarvan, Rammus. I do actually not expect, if he's going to pull out Udyr this weekend, it's going to play right into AV's hands, because I'll just pick Tristana. And they're comfortable on that. Veritas has shown that he's incredibly comfortable on that on the current patch on Tournament Realm, which I believe is pre-nerfs. So whether that comes in and changes things will be different. But if I do think there is a glimmer of hope there, but it definitely relies 100% on bottom lane and top lane going incredibly even for Direwolves, and then Sharp and Rippy making plays.
Yeah.
Whereas the entirety
Hopefully
of
they
AV
don't
can
listen
make
to the
plays.
podcast and ban Tristana.
we'll see, I guess. We'll see.
It's just silence. Uh-oh.
yeah. But we're having a decisive impact.
Yeah.
This is how we get our credibility up in the Oceanic scene. We have a decisive impact on Champ Select at Underworld. So, there we go. We can just say we declared it here. You heard it here first. There's going to be Tristana bans because, of us. Let's talk about...
Vayne.
Or Vayne. Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking as well. Like, you could go Vayne as well. Obviously not quite as safe.
Same job.
Well,
in my
Tristana's got
opinion,
the range at the
because
late game where Vayne obviously doesn't, but she's got the
Vayne has the
knockback.
kite ability.
Yeah. And
She has greater kite ability.
and if Nada brings out Janna again, which why would he not? Because Janna's really good at the moment, and he's really good on Janna. That's going to make life hell for Udyr as well. So,
So yeah, it's basically saying you've got 3 bans, or you have to pick up 2 of those champions
Yeah.
to actually get a Udyr through. Rippy, don't get me wrong, he
Well,
is an absolute god on that Udyr, but
well, that's
it
what
just
he's always
takes
been known for.
Yeah, I don't think that they'll be slipping into Udyr like they've been practicing a while. They've got a few different champions under their belt. I don't think that they'll be picking Udyr unless it's absolute, like, okay, Jarvan's been banned away. I really need a comfort pick here. You know, we're one game down. We need to get back in. You know, like that's about the only time I could expect them to see the Udyr, because he's famous for it. Like, you'll only see Froggen playing Anivia, you know, very few times, but when it does, he puts on a show.
Yep, that's it. So let's talk about Chiefs versus Legacy, which should probably be the big game. I mean, because it's really the rematch from Winters. I think everybody's keen to see. It will probably have the most focus out of all the matches. So I don't know if I can call it yet. I mean, I think Chiefs have been good, but Legacy are also quite good. I mean, Chiefs, I think they've always, maybe because I am a bit of a fan of their team, I think, you know, when they still, I think they are still the best team in Oceania. But Legacy are not far off. And if they did play pretty well, you know, apart from, they played well in all of their games. And it's just that AV won a couple of really decisive fights that turned around in the upper bracket. So
you see, for all the praise that I just gave Avant, I would like triple that for Chiefs. Like, Chiefs have been looking absolutely flawless lately. I think I said it last week on the podcast, is that if you want to see like some of the best Oceanic League of Legends, you need to watch the Chiefs versus Immunity games, because there was just so much just absolute perfection in those games. Wasn't 100% perfect. I'm not going to claim that, you know, these are the best games ever, but certainly of the highest caliber that we've seen in the Oceanic region. So I really do think Chiefs have a much stronger showing than Legacy, who have their moments. Like, don't get me wrong, I still think Legacy are amazing, but they're inconsistently awesome. Like, I wouldn't say that Legacy are a great team. I would say that they're sometimes an amazing team. When Legacy show up, and they will not give you like room to breathe at all. Like, when Legacy are ahead and they're in the right mindset, they will take games and they will qualify for wild card. You know, like when Legacy show up, they show up. That's pretty much it. But Chiefs almost always show up. They very, very rarely have a poor game. So just based on mathematics, Chiefs are more likely to win that matchup.
Yeah, no, you finish.
I was just going to say, especially with their AV strong showing on the weekend against them. So that's going to affect them mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think Legacy are probably a bit more consistent than maybe you give them credit for. I think they are a great team. I think they have become a great team. I just think it's probably, you know, Chiefs are probably better. I mean, part of it might just be the length of time that Chiefs have been together. Like, it's been a good, solid 2 years. I mean, they've been around, you know, been in their current form for a long time. They are top quality players. They work really well together. So yeah, I just think that if what I'm hoping will happen is that Chiefs will win because Chiefs are the better team, but it's not because Legacy play bad. I mean, I
don't expect that, and I don't mean to imply that. If that's how it was interpreted, I don't mean that at all. I just mean Chiefs always play well, and Legacy's well. I'm trying to find the right descriptive words here, because like all of these teams play very well. Some play well more often than others, and I think Chiefs
consistency.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think Chiefs have that going for them, where like Legacy, as I said, when they're really good, they can be considered the best, but when they're not, when they're down, you know, they could drop to 5th or 6th in the region. But 5th or 6th in the region is nothing to sneeze at. The Oceanic scene right now is so close, close. Yeah. Absolutely, this is the closest it's ever been. With, you know, like as we were saying for the CGPL, like one team beating another team by a certain amount is what is going to make the difference in the standings. Like, that's how close we're talking here. Yeah. So like, I don't mean to rain on any Legacy fans' parades or anything like that. I still think they're amazing. Don't get me wrong.
And before I forget, I got to give a shout out to Ejim, because some idiot in some other team didn't let him get Alistair, and he just showed everybody why you should never give him Alistair.
Yeah.
And it was like, amazing. As somebody who likes Alistair as a champion, I just look at it and just went, yes, you are a god on Alistair. So, pro tip to Chiefs, I know you'd be keen for my advice on how you should play, but don't let him have Alistair. It'd be bad.
Okay. I'll be talking to Swiper pre-game.
Sure. Because, Chiefs, I get calls from them all the time asking for my advice on how they should play. Any final words about Underworlds before we move on to some pre-season changes discussion?
I would like to see the thing for me that will determine whether Legacy can take it to Chiefs is if they've fixed their tilting problem, because in my mind they're one of the biggest tilting teams in the region.
Chiefs is or Legacy?
Legacy.
Yeah, okay.
And I can't forgive them for missing the best opportunity for a fun in League of Legends history and spelling it Legacy OCE instead of Leg OCE.
Yeah, okay, I see. Lack of puns.
There's
all
always
right.
next season.
Yeah, there is.
But I want to make a prediction that Chiefs will take this, and it'll be quite a good final. Chiefs versus Avant-Garde. That's my prediction.
I'm predicting 3-1 to Chiefs, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually. It kind of varies on how well they go against rivals, but I'm actually thinking I think Chiefs will win. I think it's quite possible, not out of the realms of possibility, it'll be 3-2 to Chiefs. So, I think, just with AV's play, like Nardo in particular, like I just thought is really excellent. So, yeah, no, I'm hoping for it'd be good after Worlds being a bit of a stomp for Samsung White. It'd be really good to see Chiefs like have to slug it out with AV in the final. So, yeah, but it's going to be a good weekend, and I'm probably not going to be there, but everybody who is there, enjoy. And let's we've got about half an hour or something, 20 minutes left. Let's get into some preseason discussion. In fact, we actually had a question. Which we might actually use this as a framework for discussion. So, Modbro asked on Twitter, he says, after looking at the new jungle changes, what new strategies do you plan trying and which jungles will become relevant? So let's talk about the jungle changes. We talked about buffs last week, particularly about the dragon buffs and Baron and blue and red buffs. So let's talk about some of the stuff with the jungle. We've got new monsters. We've got the jungle difficulty's been changed. What are your guys' thoughts on some of the jungle changes that you've seen?
I've got no idea. Like, I've read these about 3 times now, and I still find it so difficult to predict. Like, I'm gonna have to log on to the PBE and try some of this stuff out, because there's so much information here that when they change lifesteal by like 3% on one particular item, it changes the entire game. But when they change this many things all at once, it could really go anyway. The only thing that I can think of is that Nasus might see a showing again. That's about the only prediction that I can make off this stuff. There's just too much information and too many other things all changing simultaneously for me to kind of make a prediction. Like, what do you think?
2 words. No.
No. Oh, new. All right. They said no, like you're not making a prediction. All right.
I mean, I've seen stuff that just quickly. I just thought I'd throw in there that Stonewall. I watched some of his jungle videos that he did as soon as they changed the PPE, and it looks like the jungle is significantly harder. Like he basically pointed out. I think Nunu might have actually been. I'm trying to think. There's 2 champions that he did quite well, and I think it might have been Fiddlesticks did all right. But otherwise, all the the fast clearing jungles, the carry type jungles, just took a lot longer to complete. They had a lot less health, and it was really, and Teki Champions got smashed as well. So it might be that the jungle was actually quite significantly harder.
Well, that's probably a good thing, because like that should trim the numbers, and like that'll make it easier to fine tune the game around that sort of stuff. At the moment, that like the jungle, I wouldn't say that the jungle is easy, but we had a Lissandra jungle on Battle Arena this week. It's the jungle champions aren't dictated by the jungle in the current meta. They're dictated by what's strong elsewhere. Like what champions go where. Like, you know, if Zed and Janna are powerful at the moment, then we'll have, you know, Lee Sin or Elise or, you know, all of these champions that are good generic junglers, but they're always safe picks rather than, you know, opening up the jungle to things. This could allow for next season for Riot to balance junglers a lot easier. I think this is a good vision from Riot Games, because if it's a lot harder to jungle, then specific junglers will do well and others will do quite poorly. The poor ones will not see viability at all unless they offer something absolutely crazy to mid game. Well, then again, I can't even say that because mid game might change because all the other items and stuff are changing. Like, did you see these boots enchantments? My goodness.
No, I don't think I've seen those ones yet.
Scroll down in that rough notes on the PBE thing that I linked out, or that you linked earlier, and more upgrades. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, they're not. They're enchantments for jungle items.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're enchantments for jungle items. So if you go to the surrender,
oh my goodness, I read that completely
And
wrong.
now
I thought
he's
these were for the boot.
totally
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Now
No.
I'm gone. I read this 4 times and I missed that. I thought these were boot enchantments.
I'll put the PBE, the latest PBE thing. So no, it's actually at the moment on the PBE, Juggernaut gives 500 health, 25 armor, 10 CDR, and then tenacity. So that's basically your tanky jungle one. You've got Magus is 90 AP, 10% cooldown, 10 magic penetration. Warrior is 60 damage, 60 AD, and 10% lifesteal. And then you've got Devourer, which has changed, which used to be Stalker. It's 50% attack speed. It builds out of a longbow, which is just dumb. 50% attack speed, 40 magic damage on hit. And then
Just call it a longbow.
is it? Hang on, was it the recurve bow? Recurve bow.
Did you? I feel
What?
I feel just
What?
disgraced by your item names.
It's recurve bow. Sorry, I got it wrong.
It is recurve.
Boo boo
Wow.
hoo.
Okay.
It is recurve.
I didn't.
Oh,
think it was recurve.
oh. Thank
We
you,
called it the
internet.
longbow.
Thank
That's
you've got a record of where the shoutcaster gave me a hard time, but he was wrong. So there we go.
Just,
I didn't actually know what it was called, just for the record.
You know why? Because nobody buys recurve bow because it's a crap
I
item.
know.
We're so professional.
Hang on. Shyvana jungle, you need a recurve bow so you can hit that wit's end.
How
Yeah,
else
okay.
do we see a professionally picked Shyvana jungle?
With a
Season
recurve
2?
bow. now.
With a wit's end. It was the last time we saw
No,
a wit's end
professionally
ever.
picked Shyvana jungle was this season.
Oh,
Yeah, but they didn't build wit's end, did they?
No, they didn't. They
No,
went for
they didn't.
Dragonfly.
That's it. So I was right. You were wrong. Thank you very much. So I mean, the new jungle items looking pretty beefy. I guess I mean they're looking about. That looks like they're all about the same 2250 for the completed items, which I guess is just off the head sounds about close to what the current jungle items are completed on. It'll be interesting to see if Feral Flare sort of Wriggles Lantern's still in there because I don't think it's been removed, but presumably it will be.
It was removed.
Oh, was it
They
removed? Okay.
removed all jungle items.
Oh, yeah, of course they would have. Yeah. So, and it doesn't look like the smite changes are on the final item. So that's interesting because the smite changes are quite novel.
well,
So-
I think whichever upgrade you get, like, goes on top of whatever smite bonus that you had from your original item.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it must. Well,
it's-
it doesn't.
if you get the poacher's knife and then upgrade it with the Magus enchantment, you keep the poacher's knife.
Except on the little screenshots they've got of the items on the PBE, this is on Surrender at 20, it doesn't actually have it in the item descriptions. So presumably they do, but it's not actually in the text of the thing. So
Okay, they'll fix that. Like, because this is not an easy change.
And this
Too
is
bad.
why we use the rough notes from Riot's website.
So I mean, I think the main thing which, sorry, go.
I seriously thought they were boot enchantments when I said.
No, they're not. No, they're enchantments for jungle items.
Yeah, that makes a
Um,
lot more sense.
Yeah, but that would be pretty good if you could get 500 health off your boots and
Yeah.
like 10% CDR and stuff. That'd be and 25 armor. It's actually like tank treads. Like you're actually on like. Anyway. All right. Well, I think we've probably answered that question. How much time we got left? We got about 10 minutes. So they might actually add another question. Maybe next week we'll have another stab at them. I think actually there's probably not a whole lot more. Maybe the one last thing we might talk about is the scuttle crab. So this is their thing more than anything that I'm keen to see how it works out. So this is the new jungle creep. He walks up and down the river, and when you kill him, he creates a zone that gives a move speed boost and vision around the dragon pit. And it's like just outside the dragon pit, or it's just outside the baron pit. Now,
Yeah, and when you attack it, he runs away.
yeah. So I think that Scuttle Crab, alongside the Dragon changes, I think how you make the most of Scuttle Crab will actually completely change how competitive play is. Because if you can get guaranteed vision of an area around the Dragon Pit, which it does, it's going to completely... it essentially means that warding is less relevant because you basically, if that thing spawns, or it basically means you have to kill the thing at the right time so it's not there when you want to try and take dragon, which means they have to rely on wards, which it actually adds another layer of the vision control around those objectives, which I'm really interested to see how that goes if it manages to stay.
Where does it actually say that it provides vision?
If you go to, so this is the...
I might be looking at
Okay,
a
new
different
jungle
document.
camp, Scuttle Crab. This neutral objective is intended to add control to the river as a setup for Baron/Dragon, or provide protection/enable river ganks in the early game. Number 1, spawns in top and bottom river and patrols the portion of the river it is in. Number 2, it is not hostile, tries to run away from enemy champions. Number 3, grants a speed shrine in the river that provides vision and out-of-combat movement speed to people who cross it.
Okay, so it provides the vision after you've killed it, or
After you've killed it,
always?
yeah. So essentially when you kill
Okay.
it, a little
'Cause I thought
swirly...
if it just spawned and provided vision, that would
No. So
That's what I
it
thought
basically
you
it
were
patrols.
saying.
It goes up and down the river. You kill it. It then its little ghost runs to the outside the Baron pit or outside the Dragon pit. It then creates one of the speed shrines, which looks like quite like a ghostly version of the speed shrine in Twisted Tree Line. You know, the one right in the middle of the map.
Yes.
It kind of looks like that, and basically it creates an area which gives vision control of anybody who's in it, and it gives an out of speed move boost. Which, yeah. So, but it's on a timer, so it only lasts for a certain while, and then it goes on cooldown while we wait for the thing to spawn again.
All right. Now it says that it tries to run away from champions. Now I have several questions about this. First of all, I'm assuming like it would have to start off a particular path. Like it said, it spawns in the top and bottom river, and patrols the river that it's in. Now, if you say walk up toward that area on the support, and the Scuttle Crab is there, does it automatically run away the second you're within its vision range or its aggro range?
I think it runs away if you attack it. I think otherwise
Okay,
it just wanders up and down.
Okay, so it just because if that was the case, would that let's just say that the Thresh or whoever attacks it, and then it runs away. Does after the Thresh goes away and it resets, does it go back to the position it was patrolling, or does it start patrolling from wherever it finished and then go back to its natural path? Because those
get the
little bits of
feeling-
information can give you a lot of information about who's patrol, like whether or not the enemy jungler is in the river, warding dragon, and all that sort of stuff.
This is actually a really, really good point, and I think it's twofold. One, I think it's going to actually, based on what the outcome is of the pathing, will provide more control to roaming supports. EGM buff, please. Number 2 is that you could force it into a lane and kill it in that lane. So, for example, if I have something like a Zed mid, and I'm playing Elise in the jungle, and I want to be able to gank his lane. I also want to be able to give him some more mobility against something like a Xerath or a Vel'Koz. I mean, into a Xerath lane, he's already going to win. He has high mobility, and that's gets in Xerath's face really easily, which is what Xerath does not want to do. But we're talking these sort of pokey move around champions. Maybe we want to give that buff. Let's flip the table and let's say we've got a Xerath versus a Zed. He needs that movement speed buff to get around that lane. Do I chase that then into the mid lane and then I smite that there and I leave that there for him as basically when Zed gets to about 2 or 3 creeps off hitting level 6?
Well, I know how I would use it. I know that if I was in, say, the bot lane or a jungle position, I would go down the river and force it into the tribe rush and then kill it there. That's what I would do. Like, I think because that allows you defense or offensive options that way. And they can't clear it, so that gives you a window of opportunity. Again, it does depend on how long it lasts, because if it only lasts for 10, 20 seconds, then...
It seemed to last for quite a while. When I saw a video of it, again, I watched Stonewall when it first hit the PBE, it seemed to last for like a minute or two. Like it seemed like it basically it had sort
That's
of like a
long
cycle, not unlike a buff. Like it wasn't, like it wasn't like sort of the wraiths or whatever. What do they call them? These Razor Beaks.
It says a speed shrine, so that sounds like an object. So maybe the enemy team could attack it as well. Like
No,
there's a
it's
lot
just
of
it's just an
information.
area. It's just a zone.
It's
It's
just okay.
it's
Yeah,
like the
it's-
speed
it's-
shrine that's on Twisted Tree Line.
Right.
Or I mean, there's ones on
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull. Yeah, that Dominion thing. Who
Yeah,
cares
it's-
about that? What is Dominion
Yeah, who
anyway?
even plays that? Oh wait,
Yeah.
hang on. We
Yeah.
enjoyed Ascension so much. That was such a good mode.
All right.
But yeah, it's certainly going to change. The jungle itself is going to change so drastically. I definitely can't predict. There will probably be some junglers come alive that we've never seen. I definitely feel like Riven has a potential chance to cycle in here with a strong leash. Modbrat and obviously Old Time are going at it in the chat about the double jungle. So it is an option. The trouble you're going to run into is, do you run a support in the jungle? Do you run an Alistar jungle? Do you run a Thresh jungle? And have them there as utility for bonus gankers, and then run pure damage champions. So you run roaming
only
Thresh
that.
or Ally with a Yi.
See, that's
kick off.
that's just a tiny bit of the questions that would be raised there, because a big part of why double jungle is popular in some meta styles and some strategies at the moment is the amount of experience that is granted by doing the jungle camps. Now like there's a ton of different jungle camps that are here, like the way the buffs work and what they do. Like double jungle might not be viable anymore, or on the other side of the coin, it might be more viable than ever. Like it really does depend on how much the buffs add to early aggression, or how much experience is given out by all of the mobs. As Carrot was saying before, that junglers, fast clear junglers, weren't clearing at it as fast. So 2 junglers might be necessary to get that experience and then sneak an early dragon, or whatever the strategies that will pop up next season are. So there's really a lot of unanswered questions. So it's really hard to make a prediction based on like having not played on the patch, or having seen people play on the patch. Like Stonewall's videos have come out. I haven't actually watched them yet, because they're probably going to be irrelevant for a while. Like, when does this patch even come on? Like, have they announced?
Oh
when they're
no,
expecting?
it's
like
soon.
It's 2 months away.
It's soon.
Yeah, soon trademark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very late November at the earliest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so like, and they could make a ton of changes. Who knows? We'll have to see, and that's it. Like,
I
that's
get the
that's
feeling
whatever-
with this that the preseason is going to run for a long time, because there is going to be so many changes that we're going to end up with the Black Cleaver Brutalizer problem of old, where they're going to have to run
League
through
of
and
Wolf
patch
Dogs.
it.
Yeah.
We're going to get Targon's Brace, come back. That sort of style thing. We've had an item at the start of every season where everyone builds it. The good thing though that they have made is that you have to take Smite to at least pick up these items. That is
that's
certainly going to make you think, and it's why I am actually going to be lending a lot of weight towards the double jungle possibility, because in my mind it helps out a Vayne lane, because if Vayne's getting solo XP, she can then hit 6 faster and turn it around on her opposition. There's less people to shove her hard in. There's less people to poke her. There's less people to see her. I find Vayne is designed around that one-on-one. In a one-on-one, she does actually quite well against a Caitlyn if she's got something like a roaming Alistar to come down and just go, oh look, here's a heal. I'm going to take 2 creeps with my Targons, and then I'm going to piss off back to the jungle. So
especially when she's got her Blade of the Ruin King. Once that time hits,
Yeah.
you do not want to duel that chick.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of potentially viable options. We could see the days of support disappear like that, and we have them turn into a utility, or they become an all-out brawl, EGM style roaming Alistair.
Maybe. I guess we'll see. All right. Well, we've probably covered that as much as we can at the moment. We'll obviously be talking about it more as things develop on the PBE, and definitely once it all hits live, we'll be having another big discussion about it. So we'll be coming back to it. Let's finish off. So Modbro had another question. He said, "Do you have any tips for content creators or people interested in becoming an analyst?"
Well, when it comes to content generation, the answer is just start doing it. That's
And
really
be
that's gonna
entertaining.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, if you feel that you can be entertaining, if you feel that you've got something that the community would like, or could get something out of, or you feel that is currently not made available, then just start doing it. Ask help from people that are already in the community. Like, this question obviously has been one of those things, and quite often, like everybody in the league community, or community figureheads anyway, are always friendly. They're always willing to help. Like, if if they've got like a few million subscribers on Twitter, they probably won't reply to you because they haven't got time for that. But you've got people that you can reach out to. In terms of analysis is actually a lot more difficult than most people seem to be taking for granted. Like, there's people out there that look at the word analysis and they go, okay, well, I'm going to try and devise my own strategies based on mathematics. Or there's people out there that go, okay, well, I'm going to find out this particular strategy and why it works. But you really need to do kind of everything, and you need to stay up to date on everything. Like, all of my friends that I have offline, and even like Carrot will attest to exactly how much esports I watch, trying to stay current with all of the strategies, all the champion viability, why people are being picked, why they're not being picked, why certain strategies work and why certain ones don't. Like like the Heimerdinger pick that we talked about earlier. Like, that's not a meta pick by any stretch of the imagination, and he's not a good champion in the current meta. But for that game, in that matchup, he was perfect, and that's something like.
If you go back and watch the cams from that portion, they were discussing it at length before they even considered locking it in, because they needed to be comfortable with the pick in that matchup.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to really know your stuff. Like, I don't go out and say, okay, like, I don't go to Immunity and say, I have devised this strategy and I think you guys should try it. I go, based on the Samsung Galaxy White game versus KT Arrows or whoever, they implemented a 4-minute dragon strategy based around heavy vision, and the only reason it worked is because the enemy jungler was Rengar or something like that. Like, you need to break it down. You need to know why it works and when it won't work, so you can inform your guys or your ranked fives team or whoever you're planning on doing your analysis for on exactly how it would work. Like, if you want to try brand new like, if you want to be a meta breaker, that's very different to being an analyst or a strategist. Like, if you want to say, go, okay guys, we're going to go quad jungle. We're going to have 2 people start at blue, we're going to have 2 people start at red, we're going to do 1 clear of the jungle, and then 5 people push mid, and we're going to have like 580 carries or something like that ridiculous. Like, that's a strategy that can work every now and then, but if it's used more than once or twice, people find pretty easy answers for it. They go, oh, well, I don't have to worry about laning matchups against this comp, so I'll just go the strongest scaling champion or the fastest pushing champion or whatever. Like, that's the difference between... Yeah, exactly. It's, just go crazy, or like this... Oh, I'm trying to think of someone who has a bad laning matchup that's... Like, Vigar. Vigar, I think he's very susceptible to people with
Oh.
longer range than him. But if he was given free farm, could you imagine a level 6 Vigar versus like a level 4 80 carry split push strat? You know, like just walk in, blah, insta kill. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go back to farming. No, oh, you're gonna cut or whatever. I'm 4 levels higher than you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it depends what you mean by analysis, but a rule of thumb that I like to go by is that there are people out there who are so good at the game that I can't possibly compete with. What I go on is numbers. Like if several thousand people try this in solo queue, or one person tries this several thousand times in solo queue and has amazing success, you need to be able to look at that and go, can this work in a team? Would this work in a team? Like, will this work against coordinated teams? Like, you know, are you going to be able to go, what is it, Udyr? What's that build called? Where they get the Spirit Stone and the Mudreds?
Madstone.
Yeah. Can you go Madstone Udyr against an organized team of 5? And quite often, the answer is no. Like,
Yes.
I said quite often. I didn't say always.
Yes.
Like,
Yes, I do it all the time. Yes, what are you on about?
and also,
But, yeah,
like, there's one more thing I want to say is that just because something can work doesn't mean that it will work the majority of times. And that's really what analysis is about, using the numbers to your advantage. If Vayne has a 46% win streak over 1,000 games in coordinated team or pro games, then you don't pick Vayne unless there's a condition that changes that. Like, she has a 52% win rate against, you know, Lucian, or when a lane swap is available, you know, like things that change the equation. So that's how I do analysis anyway. What are your thoughts, Rank?
Yeah. I have a good friend who does play a lot of Urgot, and he absolutely loves the heck out of Urgot. This friend happens to be bronze and doesn't understand when or when not to pick that champion. However, with some good guidance on when and where to pick that champion, when to pick up other champions, so he's now playing a combo between Caitlyn and Urgot. He's become a lot better player. Just because you just can't pick Urgot into things like Caitlyn. You know, you can't pick it into something like a Tristana because it just does not work in those matchups. He's improved himself. I will touch on something on the content part of things. It's something I have been trying to do and certainly trying to work on extensively since I've joined the League of Legends scene as of September last year. However, when I first joined it, I was definitely focusing directly upon myself. That doesn't work. Don't focus on yourself. Focus on the community if you want to do things like this. There is a fantastic community out there, and something that I'm now coming to appreciate, obviously moving to Melbourne. I have so many more opportunities available to me to do content like this. I will be doing an extreme amount of content at PAX. I'm going to be running around with the camera. I am going to be running like all the places all the time, hopefully trying to do a bunch of reviews and stuff to bring out. Which is going to be a bunch of fun, and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it, but I'm not doing that alone, and I'm going to try and incorporate stuff. If there's stuff you guys want to see, just flick me a message from PAX, and I'll see if I can get it, because I want to do stuff that people want to see. At the end of the day, you have to be doing... I mean, it's great that Modbrat actually wants to do the naked Modbrat plays LOL, but that's not content that people really want to see.
Sorry, what did you just say?
No offense. In the chat, he said it. Naked Modbrat plays LOL. It's great
maybe
content.
there are some
Don't
people.
get me wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if you want those people as fans. They're very a bit weird if they like that sort of stuff. I mean, my 2 cents worth. Like,
Yeah.
not.
It'll just be him and Victor. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an analyst.
like-
So, oh, sorry, you finish, Scott.
Yeah, I'm not. It was just one more thing I wanted to touch on the content side of things. I actually didn't have the resources or the training or anything to do that. I didn't have programs available to me because I really want to learn video editing and stuff like that. Now that I'm down here, I have camera equipment available to me. I have friends available that want to help me out, and I want to have an audio equipment as well, that sort of stuff. So it's certainly more available to you if you're in a better center and hub of things. And if you are, contact people, have a chat to them. I believe Swiper is a fantastic guy for this. I'm going to try and get him involved in some of OCG's casts coming up. That's plan. I'll try and get him along actually to Battle Arena because I think he'd be a fantastic guy for that. You know, but just go ahead and chat to these people. Say, hey, do you want to do this? And if not, maybe sit down and go over discussion with them. Why don't they want to do that? What can you offer them as well? Because you know, You're trying to improve yourself and improve the production quality and stuff coming out of it. And I mean, if they have any questions, that's also a good way for you to better bring up an interview and build some reputation. Because at the start of the day, you have no reputation, and you're coming to somebody and going, "Hey, I have no reputation." They have no idea what you're going to produce. So go to them as well with an idea and a concept, and pitch it to them like that. And if they don't like it, make sure to get some feedback so that you can improve your concept. So the next time you do it and go to somebody like that, you're going to the right people. Start off aiming small and then just improve. That's about the best you can do.
Yeah, and if you provide good enough content, you might get picked up by another podcast network. Who knows? Like...
That's it.
love you, Ponophobia.
Just for my 2 cents worth, I think the thing about analysis is that it involves actual analyzing. So it's a logical process. So I'm not an analyst, so I'm not gonna pretend that I know this. But the key thing is you need to be able to understand the elements and how they fit together, which Steve already said. So really, it's about you need to sort of be able to think logically. Think clearly. I think you need to read lots. I think you need to really listen to people who understand the game. Watch Summoners Inside and listen to Monty what he thinks, and go to GG Chronicle and read the articles that they put up, and go to LoL Esports and read what Obscurica or what somebody else said. Go and read and understand. There's Cloth 5. There's Reign of Gaming. There's lots of people you can learn from, and really I think that's going to help build your base understanding. And then from there you sort of start to develop your own framework for thinking, and you sort of work out from there. It's sort of So it's don't try to do it as a lone wolf.
I was just gonna agree with you on that, Carrot. One of the things that I did was the first thing I wanted to do was put the game on the big screen. Like I've got a 46-inch TV in my room, but I prefer to watch the games out in the living room where I've got the projector set up. So I've got as big a mini map as possible, so that the tiny numbers on the streams are as large as possible, so I can get the information as quickly as possible. Like if you watch a pro game, and you're doing it for analysis purposes rather than entertainment purposes, try not to look at the mechanics at all. Like you can stare and watch someone last hit or dodge skill shots for the entire year, but if you're not looking at where the wards are being placed or keeping track of when the enemy jungler enters the jungle and for what reason, like if you're ignoring all that stuff, then you're not going to learn as much from the pro games as you would if you were paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to back you up there. I think the best way to analyze games, in my own opinion, of course, everyone is entitled to their opinions. You got to remember that.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways.
Is to look for the little things, warding timers. When does a team ward? Go and watch 30 games of the same team, and make sure it's 30 games with the bottom lanes in the same side. And the bottom lanes, if they lane swap only 30 times, get those 30 VODs and go, okay, when they lane swap with this particular matchup, there is always a ward here. That stuff is so crucial. That is how the Korean teams take small amounts of information and turn it into a massive lead. Because from there, they can have their jungler exit the jungle safely on the opposite side of the map and perform something because they're expecting that ward, and the other team feels as though they're expecting him at that top side, and then he's going to go bottom. So it's just totally screwed with their heads. They're going, oh, we've planned for this, and it hasn't happened. Now what happens next? They totally one step ahead of us, and that alone, the mind games can throw players off, which in turn throws entire teams off. So that is definitely a really, really good place to start.
Cool. All right. Any final words? Because we got to wrap this up. We've about bang on time. So
do we get a shout out section this week?
Oh, we will. But I just want to see if there's any final comments you want to make, Steve, about this. This question.
No, well, I could talk for hours about analysis, and it's very rare that I get an opportunity to talk about it, because quite often it's, I've done the analysis and this is good, Yeah. I don't actually get to talk about it, but no, I think in terms of getting started in analysis, or just as a content creator in general, I think we've given all the information we really need to get people started.
Yep. Well, and of course, always hit us up on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are underneath our pictures on the stream, so just feel free to add us, to follow us and to tweet at us, and we'll be happy to help you out. So, which of course we know that Mod does freely avails himself of that opportunity. So, all right, cool. Well, let's do some shout outs and then we'll finish up. So, Steve, did you want to go first?
Well, shout out to Modbrat for just being, or Modbro, depending on which alias we're going to use today. He's been really good. He's been just over the last couple of months, he's always kind of stood out as a prominent member of the OzLoL community. But quite recently, he's really stepped up, and he's always asking, can I help? What can I do to help? Shout out to Victor, just for being Victor. I want to actually talk to Victor a little bit this week, so shout out to him. And I had one more shout out I was going to do. I didn't write it down because it's not. You removed the section, Karen. Yeah. Any of you guys got shout outs while I think about who the third person was?
No.
AV's bot lane, Veritas and Nada. They just make me so excited for PAX. Shout out to Stephen Garstone. No idea who that guy is, but apparently he's coming to Melbourne, so. And
Excellent.
shout out to anyone attending PAX. I'll get a shot. I'm sure me and Stephen will meet up before, and we'll get a shot of us both and what we're wearing on the day. So, if you are coming to PAX, shout out to every one of you.
Awesome. And I don't have any.
That was it. The third one was Fantasies. Fantasies is a member of the Northern Territory League of Legends community, and he organized a big, massive day at the World Finals. At the movie theater, there's like 3 movie theaters in the entire city, so that's a really big deal for Darwin. And we had a massive amount of people show up, which is so rare for anything in Darwin, let alone the Northern Territory. And he got like Riot swag sent down and all this other stuff. And I'm still running into people that I know that play League of Legends that go, "Oh, I went to the cinema and we saw League of Legends and it was amazing." So. If he's listening live or if he's going to be listening to the podcast, shout out to you because you've really done the Northern Territory community proud.
Cool. All right. Well, that pretty much brings an end to episode 60 of the OzLoL podcast. My name's Carrot Colossus. I've been joined by Steve and Scott, and we'll be back again next week for some post-PAX discussion or post-Underworld discussion. So make sure you come back. Join us at twitch.tv/TForce Podcast. 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And don't forget Battle Arena, of course, on Thursdays. We'll be back again next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.